Hi, I'm Vanessa,
Hi, I'm Jacinta.
and we're from Strange Colony Podcast, and you're tuning in to True Crime Story Time. I don't make noises.
We still don't have an intro sound, so that's all. That's what you get.
Yeah, we're a work in progress.
Super professional.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to this week, Ness?
Oh gosh, what haven't I been up to? All the usual stuff. All the
Okay.
usual stuff. Like, just running my household, working, trying to maintain a social life. Hasn't happened. Has not happened. Like, yeah. All the sicknesses going around,
Mm-hmm.
schedules conflicting.
Yep. Yes, indeedy.
I have dumped a lot of time into Skyrim, though.
Oh yeah, name drop.
Bethesda, pay me.
Or just let us know when the next Elder Scrolls is coming out. That'd be freaking great.
Yeah, do that. Send me a copy. Thanks. No, my son's on holiday, so we've been hanging out a bit, trying also not to drive each other mental.
That's a whole thing.
Oh, it is a whole thing. But I've been working more because people are sick, so more hours at works.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
That's okay, because that's more money.
That's money.
Yeah. What have you been doing?
Well, obviously school holidays, so my house has been pretty full with all of the kids home, the yours, mine, ours, Sitch. We've actually just celebrated our second youngest child's birthday, their second birthday.
They're not allowed to
So
be that old.
they're not, they have to stay little forever. But yeah, so had a party. Way too much cake. There's still cake in my household, and we're approaching the next weekend now.
Express post. Freezer and express post it.
I was gonna say I've got the cake in my freezer still from the tea party that I hosted.
Oh my gosh.
But no, they had a cake smash with a massive. My husband carved it into a ball. It was like a 6-layer cake, and they just face planted it. It was everything. But yeah, had some family friends over, and my husband taught me how to play Magic the Gathering. I'm really enjoying that. He's helped me build my first deck, and we're going to go shopping so I can add some more to it. I'm one of those that's obviously Ness, I hyperfixate, so that's my current hyperfixation is Magic Gathering, and like I slept with my deck last night in this little tote bag, like it was just heavy, and it's been in my back pocket all day.
PG rated sleep?
PG rated sleep. I have
Just
too much
to clarify.
respect for those cards. But yeah, that's all us. So probably swing into the true crime for story time.
No, check out my fit first. Like,
oh yes, absolutely.
this.
You are looking all the adorables today. I'm all the comfies today with the Ness is extra.
Don't know what she's talking about. I really don't.
Now, with that covered.
Sorry, me.
You. Oh, you.
Yes. Yes. It's my episode, okay?
It is your episode. And what is your episode about? Segue.
It is about the family. And for those who don't know, the family is a cult Some say it's a sect. I don't know what even is the difference. I was going to Google it, but forgot. Thank you.
Continue.
The family is also known by a few other names.
Okay.
And that is... I'm gonna get this wrong. I know I'm gonna get this wrong. Santiniketan Park Association.
Well, that was a mouthful.
It really was, and I've probably mispronounced it.
Wow. Oh, by the way, difference between church, sect, and cult. A church is a conventional religious organization. A sect is a deviant religious organization with traditional beliefs and practices. And a cult is a deviant religious organization with novel beliefs and practices.
So it could be a cult or a sect.
And we're
both.
part of it. And we're a part of a cult.
Are we?
Or a sect.
Deviant. Alright. They are also known as the Great White Brotherhood. And I know that you can all guess the core beliefs here without going into religion.
Still, hit us with them anyway.
Literally about being an Aryan race.
Yep. Great White.
Love that.
Here I was hoping it was about sharks.
Nom noms. So the family operated primarily from a house near Lake Eildon.
Where's that?
Which, outside of Melbourne.
Ah, yep.
Dandenong Ranges-ish.
Right.
And primarily during the 70s and the 80s, but they are still active now.
Dang.
Yeah. Oh no, 70s and 80s. The 60s and 70s. My bad.
60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Have they had the same leader the whole time?
Yes, until recently.
Oh, okay.
So, as always, you know, all the traumas for the followers. All the brainwashing, all the manipulation, and all the tools and tactics to get there.
So we're sticking with cult then?
Yeah, we'll go with cult. The leader of this cult, since inception, shall we say, was Anne Hamilton Byrne. And she believed that she is Jesus Christ reincarnate.
Okay. Sure. I'll play along.
And once her following was developed, her inner circle are the apostles of Jesus. Again, reincarnate.
Sure.
Guess how many there are?
12.
Yay! And you're the one who didn't really go to church.
Do you know how I know this?
How?
Because of the landmark on the coast.
Oh my god, I love that so much. Yes.
There is there's not 12 anymore. There was a natural landmark going down. It's the Great Ocean Road, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. At the bottom of Victoria, if you are travelling along the coast, called the 12 Apostles. And it is for that reason and not because of any religious reason that I'm aware of that.
I am so here for that. So here for that.
I like nature. I don't like religion. It's pretty standard.
I have mad respect for that. Big respect.
So these 12 apostles.
These 12 apostles, I can't even name them all, to be honest.
I would not expect that you would memorize 12 names. I mean, the apostles have to have changed at some point, right? Because, people aren't going to be alive forever.
Yeah, and a lot has changed structurally since the late 80s within the cult.
You said there's a new leader, which I looked up from 94, by the way.
Okay.
Did old Jesus die?
Oh, yeah, old Jesus died.
So this is new Jesus.
This is new Jesus.
Jesus take 3.
Why now, though? I don't understand the logic. Oh, wait, there is none. My bad. So, in true Aryan fashion, Anne is described as having blonde hair, blue-grey eyes. She was, your typical middle-class woman. She wore pearls, she could sing, she could play the harp, had a pretty good upbringing, all that sort of stuff. As most cult leaders are, she is described as being charismatic. And there are ex-members of the cult who would describe her gaze as being like that piercing, intense gaze that just pierces your soul. And that's where most of her power came from. Not from brainwashing, not from manipulation, not from...
So she just gonna stare a bitch down.
Yeah. Not from drug abuse, not from torture, not from physical abuse. It's literally just her eyes that had them enthralled.
Sure.
Whatever.
So we're about to hear about all those other fun things then.
Well, we will get into some of it. But Anne has said that her greatest source of power is her ability to show and give. In 1964, a person named Raynor Johnson was hosting regular religious meetings and philosophical discussions. They're described as within a group of peers.
Okay.
And these were led by dear Anne.
How can you
Hamilton Byrne.
Here?
I know, right? And these meetings were held at a property called Santiniken. I'm gonna really struggle with that word every time. Anywho, this home, I'm gonna start referring it to as the home in Ferny Creek because F that name. And this home was also in the Dandenong Ranges, which is east of Melbourne, for those who don't know. And in 1968, they also purchased the adjoining property, calling it, that name I can't say, Park, and then they built another house, shall we call it, there, and called it, that name I can't say, Lodge. The family operated in secrecy, like no one knew about it unless you were, like they were trying to recruit you.
Oh, invite only.
Yes.
And because Fight Club.
You don't talk about Fight Club.
Yep.
Second rule of Fight Club.
See the first rule of Fight Club? I don't fucking know. I didn't watch
You
Fight
don't
Club.
talk about Fight Club.
Okay, I didn't watch Fight Club, alright?
Oh, why? It was a good movie.
I'm actually a huge fan of Edward Norton, to be honest.
Another idiot that I used to, have a crush on.
What could be worse? It could be Brad. I had a thing for Brad.
Ew.
Everybody had a thing for Brad, to be fair.
I didn't.
But Edward Norton?
I know, right?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with him exactly.
But he's not like a standout either, right?
No, it's not like, oh my god, Edward.
I know.
Right, so she was
Weird
Team Edward, got it.
The weird dynamics of my mind.
Yep.
And they had a motto: unseen, unknown, unheard. And they lived by it, obvi, because, rules of Fight Club.
Sorry, just the old analogy of, the bear shitting in the woods. Just running through my head. Anywho, we're really, really derailed today.
Such is life. Anne led the cult with a cruel hand in the end. But of course, she wasn't always that way, especially when luring people in.
Of course not.
She was especially harsh with the children. There was a lot of stuff on the children.
Mm-hmm.
And seemed to be a lot of her main focus, which is... yeah. They would meet a few times a week at one of the properties, because there was a few owned by the group, and they would refer to the meetings as Burns Hatha Yoga Class. This is how they could get away with speaking about it in public settings and not letting on what was happening.
Right.
You're right.
What would happen if they had some random person who was just like, hey, yoga class, I might go try that out. I would be the dumbass to do that.
I would expect that a lot of these people, given the educational and social status of them and the backgrounds they come from, would have the skills necessary to either deflect that or then try and get more information to see if there was someone worth coercing into joining the cult.
Fair enough. Sorry.
No, that's good. Good question. Because a lot of the people she was recruiting were Melbourne's upper middle class professionals. We're talking doctors, we're talking nurses, psychiatrists, teachers, lawyers.
Okay.
Like,
that is not the usual target range for a cult.
No, it's not. But can leave you very connected, very well connected.
Absolutely.
And you've got enough people in all the right places. It's about, having pawns in the right places, essentially.
Yeah.
And, there is always the preying on those who are going to be more vulnerable and all that sort of stuff. Also, this is the 60s and 70s.
They are also high-stress jobs.
High-stress jobs. You've got the whole freedom and peace and love movements and all that sort of stuff. Like, people trying out New Age religions and just a lot of spiritual movements happening. Yes. So a lot of people from all walks of life are susceptible to just about anything during this time period because the big things happening socially at that time.
Yeah. Thorough.
And she could, be invited to a dinner party or, just be out and about with them, and she would just promise fulfillment. And within her manipulation, she was very good at stroking your ego. She would say things like, I've been waiting for you. That's a quote. You are special. There's things to
wow,
really feed into that. And we look back on that now as we can look back on that now and know that that's what was happening. But people back then were less aware. Like, less information got shared and all that sort of stuff because we are a more connected age.
Internet.
Most of her preachings were Christian-based, especially being,
Aryan.
Yeah. But she would bring in... Sorry, that was a bug. She would bring in bits of, Hinduism, bits of Buddhism, other Eastern-based practices, and then also the Doomsday Prophecy tied in at the end.
Of course.
And once she had you, she was relentless to make you submit to her. And like full submission.
A lot of people pay good money for that.
I know, right? We're in the wrong business. And her only rule was to obey her every word.
Oh, so she didn't ask much.
No, nothing at all. It's just one thing, really. Does my head in. I couldn't be totally obedient to anybody. Just no. I
don't think most people could, to be honest.
Yeah. But having said that, if I went through some of the things, and especially what the children went through,
Mm-hmm.
and being raised into it, there's a possibility. Actually, there's a very strong,
probability.
Yeah. To be initiated into said cult, a part of the process was to be dosed up with LSD. Yay! Anyone else getting Charles Manson vibes?
Yep. Damn.
Except instead of being ranted at whilst they were high, and this happened to the children as well once they turned 14-ish.
Oh, those
Yeah.
poor developing minds.
Yes. They would get locked in a room in the dark, tripping balls, and get told to work on themselves.
No, ma'am. Nuh-uh.
One member who actually got kicked out of the cult, go her. I mean, not go her, but go her.
Yep.
Said that during her initiation process, she was locked in the room, given LSD, and told to confess that she was thinking about sex.
Uh-huh.
And that she wanted to be, how can I censor this for YouTube? Taken advantage of.
Oh, CNC.
Yeah. Minus the consent.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's messed up. It's funny, when I was doing all the research for this, everyone's described what she did with the children as collecting them.
Right.
She collects children. And I guess I should probably tell you why it's called collecting.
Okay.
Because these children, only some of them were the product of cult members' relationships.
Oh, she straight up freaking taking other people's kids.
And this is where the connections come into play as well.
Oh, damn.
She gained these children via adoptions.
Uh-huh.
Very questionable adoptions. Some might even say outright bogus.
Oh, God.
One of the followers was a doctor and organised some of these adoptions. One of the followers was a social worker.
Oh, no.
And would help organise these adoptions. And they would doctor all the paperwork, forge birth certificates.
So it's a child kidnapping ring.
Yeah, this is, I want to say borderline child trafficking, but technically is child trafficking.
Yeah.
She just didn't have to make payment because they were given to her as gifts.
So child trafficking for favour rather
Yeah.
than for monetary. Wow.
All of the children in the cult were hers. They are legally registered as her children. They grew up thinking she was their biological mother. They grew up believing that they are all brothers and sisters. Even the ones that were the product of cult members' relationships were given to her as gifts.
Ew. Ew. That is ew.
It's utterly gobsmacking.
How could they?
I know, right? How could you do that to your own children? I came across a story about one child who had gotten away from the cult,
Yeah.
and she was adopted that way through that doctor.
Yeah.
And has since gone through like DNA testing, all that sort of stuff, ended up finding her biological mum and the story her bio mum has about how she got taken away from her. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. She was 15 at the time.
Oh. Yep.
Her doctor was a practicing member of the family.
Yep.
And when she got to term or close to term, she gave birth. He drugged her and took the baby from her.
How legally, how did nothing happen?
I couldn't find a lot of information about that. But given that he was a fine, upstanding doctor, and she's a 15-year-old girl, I don't need to research that.
No, that's true.
Those of the children who were born with not blonde hair had their hair bleached to platinum.
Yeah.
There are photos where some of the children have their natural colour hair, but for the most part, they were made to look alike.
Yeah.
They had to dress in the same clothes, so they all looked alike. There was they had no singular identity.
Yeah, of course not.
So
erase the person to protect the family.
Yeah. And yeah, they grew up. All the other cult members were their aunts and aunties. I mean, aunties and uncles.
Sure.
Why not?
Why
the
not?
aunties were primary caregivers. That weren't, as long as Anne wasn't out doling out anything.
Yeah.
And as far as I could tell, the uncles didn't have too much to do with it. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But they would be beaten for any minor infraction. Bedwetting. You're going to get caned. Or one girl said she got hit with a stiletto shoe by Anne multiple times.
It's a good way to make sure that they keep bedwetting.
I know. And he did keep bedwetting. If they were thought to have lied about something, like something's gone wrong, or they're bickering and fighting and carrying on and they can't get to the bottom of it, the aunties would fill up a bucket with water, grab them by the back of the head and dump their head in it for 20 to 30 seconds, pull them up.
Waterboarding.
Yeah, they are waterboarding children repeatedly until they would tell the truth. And I say that
literal torture.
Very loosely. Yes. Literal torture on growing, developing minds.
Oh, damn. There's going to be a generation of messed up.
Yes. And that's also, like, there's emotional abuse going on too.
All I can think is how my daughter told me I was the worst mother in the world the other day because I banned her from technology for the day for lying.
And we host a true crime podcast. I can think of worse.
Oh, for sure. I tried to tell her that at the time, but she's drama.
Yeah. So, yeah, emotional abuse as well, where love was given and then taken away
Yeah.
over stupid things.
Yeah.
Love bombing happened and then neglect.
Yeah.
All of that.
That was what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting that. I wasn't expecting waterboarding.
Yeah. Some of these children, there's one who I've actually gotten a lot of this information from because she's been involved in interviews. She's actually written her own book about her experiences.
Oh, I have to read that.
I know. I actually very much want to hunt down anybody from that cult who has written and documented their experience. I would be very interested in reading their stories.
Yeah.
So I'd like it even more if all the proceeds would go directly to the author, but hey.
Not how that works.
No, unfortunately.
Everybody got to make their money.
Yes. Followers would also, donate cash, property, assets to the cult. And it was sort of the mid to late 80s. It is assumed, but not entirely known, that Anne Hamilton Byrne had amassed approximately $150 million in total. I couldn't find that out if that was today's money or 60s money. I would have to say today's.
Damn.
But still, that is huge.
That's insane.
Yeah.
People be crazy.
But, yeah. I also, because of the secrecy in this cult, I could not find out how many members
there actually were.
There are, yeah.
Current.
Yeah. How many there were and how many they are. Like, both are relevant.
Has there been any legal repercussions?
There's been one court case.
One.
I'll get to that too.
Okay.
And it's disgusting, to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, the amount of money she racked up in, like I said, land, assets, property, all that sort of stuff, and cash, just gives you a bit of an idea of the affluency of these people.
Yeah. I like that word. I don't like its use here.
I'm not entirely sure how much truth there is to this, but I know that after the fact this has happened, some of the kids who escaped the cult have attempted to exit game.
Yep.
And apparently some have succeeded, and I'd believe it. And it's possible that some even succeeded whilst they were still, shall we say, in captivity.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of this is going on, and not a lot's known. Like, it's not known to anybody, really, what's happening.
No.
You hear little things in society, but there's not enough to really even say whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
That, any of these people are actually real. But in 1985, a reporter, I forgot her name, I'd love to give her credit, but brain fart, she tried to investigate the cult.
Yeah.
She'd actually gone out to the house that fronted onto Lake Eildon. Here's another thing. Like, this house fronted onto Lake Eildon, the main one, the main house that is. I'm like full brain farting again. It is a popular tourist spot and summer weekend spending location. It's got watering holes. Families go there for barbecues. It's literally 300 meters to the lake's edge.
Oh, wow.
And people didn't know what was happening at this house because the aunties would gather all the kids up. They were, because they were helping look after the kids, they had to make sure that no one saw the children. And you go into this house, and through one of the bedrooms, there is a hole in the wall with a tunnel, and they would keep them in there, and they would have to stay quiet and still for hours, which is another sort of torture.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for a child.
Especially for a child. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
horrific.
yeah. Absolutely. So these kids just missed their childhoods completely, let alone all the other things that go with all of that trauma that they had to survive. But, yeah, so this reporter tried to investigate the cult during 1985. There was no children present when her cameras rolled up and all that sort of stuff. She's knocking on the door. They're turning her away because she can't enter, not legally. Yep. And the idea that there was a need for an investigation just didn't gain any traction because literally nothing visually or verbally was said or seen to make it seem like... Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was only a couple of years later when police raided the property.
They had to have already been investigating them.
I have found two different stories of what led to the raid.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is the girl, Sarah, who had been expelled from the cult. She's also one of the ones who has written a book. And she was kicked out for being rebellious, and she raised the alarm about goings on at the property.
Yeah.
And there was also a story that I had read that 2 children had escaped and made reports.
Right.
Honestly, I believe both. At this point, I don't know which way to go on that one, so I'm going to go with both.
Mm-hmm.
So you are probably right that there had to have been authorities aware.
They would have had to have been. You don't just raid a property out of nowhere.
Yeah, even based on a singular report.
No.
And even if they had all the obvious evidence and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Especially on something that big, you wouldn't just go door knock.
No, you wouldn't do a welfare check.
No, nothing like that. Oh. So, as a result of the raid, investigations ensued.
Yep.
But not a lot happened.
What do you mean?
I am not sure what has happened in regards to the members. Where they are, what happened, any convictions or anything.
There's nothing?
Nothing. The kids did get removed. I haven't dug deep enough. I really probably should go back and spend more time with this one, and I would like to later down the track do a revised.
Yeah.
If I can find anything.
But so far,
light search, bupkis.
Huh. There'd have to be.
There'd have to be. But most of the information is about Jesus.
Because it's still an active cult.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to try and bury any searches in regards to legal convictions under propaganda by flooding the search bar. Yep.
Most of what we have is about Jeebus.
Yeah.
And most of it that I could find initially was just a couple of news articles. It took forever to actually find a consolidated story source. Yeah.
Wow.
It was, she was fun. So after the raid, Anne hid overseas, in one of her New York mansions.
Mm-hmm.
New York is
Cool.
the most expensive place to live.
Okay, news to me. Okay.
And she has more than one
Multiple.
mansion. Can't even.
Yep.
You'll know why I'm angry about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Like, even more than I ought to be.
Okay.
She was eventually arrested in 1993 and extradited back to Australia,
Cool.
along with her second husband, Bill Byrne. And I couldn't help. I have to say this quote. He's been described as an ex-member as a handsome, rich, compliant handbag.
Okay. Yep.
That was so good. So beautifully worded.
Savage.
But the charges she was brought back for were falsely trying to register 3 of the children as her own triplets.
That's it?
So that charge itself got dropped and she pled guilty to the lesser charge of false declaration and was handed a $5,000 fine. There was another co-defendant with the couple, Elizabeth Whittaker, and she's the wife of psychiatrist Howard Whittaker, who had worked at the New Haven Hospital in Kew. Side note, he was the source of the LSD because he worked at the psychiatry hospital where they would do things with, like, run tests with LSD, electrocution, all sorts of psychiatrics and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So, and they were recruited in by someone higher up in that hospital. Like, it was a big thing.
Wow.
Rampant.
Okay.
And the conspiracy charges she was charged for conspiracy over fraudulently obtaining a sum of money.
Yep.
Over a period of time, and they were eventually dropped. So no one has done jail time. And only a $5,000 fine got paid.
Oh, that is absolute bull. That's bull caca.
Uh-huh. Between the years of 2006 and 2009, some of the children went on to sue the cult for the way that they were treated growing up, and they have won compensation.
Right, so if they're compensated, then there is an admitted of wrongdoing, but no criminal charges?
Yes!
What the actual beep?
Until her dying day, Anne has publicly denied any wrongdoing and called the children liars.
Of course she has.
And in a 60 Minutes interview that I watched, she was asked if she was evil. And she replied, and this is a quote, "Well, what do you call evil?" She didn't even try and deny it. All her and her, I want to call him 2IC. He was set to take over. I don't know if he's the one who actually has.
Another woman.
He was in the interview too, and they are just there using your words against you and gaslighting even the reporter, because one of the survivors was in the room too, and she just wanted an apology, just an admission of guilt, and they wouldn't give it to her.
Yep. Of course.
Of course not, because that would be too public. And in that interview, she was asked that, you know, why would the children make these claims and what would have made their lives better? And she's just like saying things about having more things, like more resources. You know, like we had the basics, we had the necessities, but they really needed a bigger house. And the reporter's like, well, so a bigger house would have solved their problems. Like, no one
Really
wants to
needed to
kill
not get
themselves. Pardon?
It really needed to not get waterboarded.
Yeah. You know, growing up in a small house is not going to make someone not want to be alive.
Yeah. No.
And that's why I'm so mad about those New York mansions. Like, you've got so much money and you want to complain that resources is the reason why your children turned against you. Because that's the way she describes it, and they all describe it. The children turned against them.
Yeah. She's like the quintessential epitome of like the abusive mum
Yes.
that
Yes.
will always deny that she ever actually did anything to them in the first place.
Yeah.
They're lying.
Heck yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that happening, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. And trying to convince you that it's all in your head. And they were literally telling this survivor that none of it happened. And they're telling her to her face, none of it happened. You're making it all up.
Yep.
And, yeah. Kudos to her for staying strong and knowing herself, but she said it has been a rough road.
Yep.
She has found some success in life, but she bears long-term physical and psychological scars, as they all do.
For sure.
And, yeah, I'm terrified of any children that get brought into that cult still.
How are they still allowed to function?
I don't know. Like I said, I've got to really do some diving into the politics behind this, because I know their fingers reach into some deep pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. A little interesting side note that I found along the way, though. Julian Assange.
Okay.
People have said he's got the look of a kid who grew up in the family.
Okay.
And, but all he has to say on the matter is that his mother's boyfriend from the 70s was a member of the family. But he said he was not directly connected.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But he did say that he had a sinister presence, and that is a quote, who sought a certain psychological power over his family. Another quote.
Right.
But Assange's family did end up fleeing him. Because they literally had to escape him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather unsatisfying non-conclusion, isn't it?
Yeah. So our Jeebus spent about 12 years still leading this cult from a fucking retirement home whilst having dementia before she passed away. And the only reason the reins got handed over to someone else is because she passed away.
Right. It doesn't actually say who's taken over.
I'm going to assume it's 60 minutes, dude. Go watch, you can find it on YouTube. There is it's like about 15 minutes interview with Anne Hamilton Byrne. There is also, so aside from the survivors' recounts of what has happened to them during their time in the cult, there's a movie, full feature-length movie, and there is a series on Stan.
Damn.
Yeah. And, like with most of the cults that I've covered, one of the properties is listed on realestate.com as of this year.
This one will be more expensive, no doubt.
This one's this is the Olinda home, and it's $1.2 million.
Ooh.
It's still not the most expensive from a cult.
No. It's more expensive than the first Kaipo, though.
Yeah. It's a big 12-bedroom property. It's actually really nice.
Of course it is. You can
Yeah,
hear
well,
the children being abused in there.
yeah. And that is all I have for this story at this stage. I would like to do more and revisit this sometime down the track, but we'll see how far I get with that.
Yeah.
And but for now, that is it. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can hit us up on Instagram at Strange Colony 2.0 or on Twitter at Strange Colony. Is there a podcast on that one?
Yes.
Meh.
No.
Yeah,
No.
there you go.
No podcast to be that. Sorry.
No.
Yes.
No. Yeah,
Yes.
no.
No.
Mostly no.
At Strange Colony on Twitter.
There you go. Sounds about right to me.
The only socials we have podcast attached to is our Facebook account.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can find us on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm. Strange Colony Podcast.
Yay! We've
Or
also got a Gmail.
if you want to get in touch with us, at our Gmail account, which is strangecolony@gmail.com.
Yay! But until next week,
Stay safe.
stay sane.
I love you. Bye-bye.
I love you, bye.
Mwah.